But so yeah, I guess that's another way of looking at it. But from a standpoint of, we hear so much about, the dollar's collapse, for instance,
Yes.
and because you talk a lot about, gold and silver. I saw
Yes.
something, I clicked on your channel, and you talk about, gold and silver, or silver's becoming harder to acquire. I saw something that you had maybe a few days or so, or maybe a week or
Yes.
so ago. What do you think? What is happening in that realm? Because we keep
Okay.
hearing the dollar is collapsed.
Yes. Yes.
We're still using it. Then you also hear, because people probably want to know, we're also being told, get all your money. They'll say money. Get all your money out the bank.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do with it if it's not going to be worth anything?
Yes. Okay. I meant to say energy cannot be created or destroyed. It only changes. That's what I meant to say. But in terms of the fiat dollar, what we see happening is the dollar is declining in value. So when Russia went over to that country called the ukulele, because I can't say the country.
Okay, yeah.
When they went over to the ukulele, they were actually going in to dismantle the deep state that's over there, because 46 and his son and his family had some nefarious dealings allegedly over in the ukulele going on. And also the ukulele is part of the territory that belonged to Russia at one time. So Russia, or the bear, however we called it, went back in there to take their country back. And of course, mainstream media spun it as if Russia was doing something diabolical, but that's not the truth. So when that happened, number 46 put sanctions on Russia, and and started making it very hard for Russia to conduct business. So Russia did something that we called in the hood clap back. Russia clapped back. Russia responded in a positive manner, because they already knew it was going to happen. So what Russia did was say, you could put sanctions on us, 46, but we will just leave the United States dollar. We'll stop trading with the United States dollar, and we'll move to other commodities such as silver and gold. Now, that is very important for our family to know this, because the United States dollar was the world reserve currency. And what made the United States dollar the world reserve currency, as my friend Andy Schectman, the CEO of Miles Franklin, says, is that we had an agreement to protect the Saudi kingdom. And what we said is, Saudi kingdom, you give us the oil and we will protect your kingdom, and we will force everybody to use the United States dollar in order to get oil from you. So it was an agreement with the Saudi kingdom that everybody had to use the United States dollar. That's what made it the world reserve currency. So when Russia left the United States dollar and said, we reject it, we're no longer going to use it, then that led to the BRICS unions, which Russia is a part to also flee the USD. So then you have Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, that whole union leaving the United States dollar and going to other commodities and saying, we're trading with gold and other things. So after that happened, it led to other nations saying that we're going to leave the USD and join the BRICS nations. But just the BRICS nations leaving the United States dollar is 40% of the world population. That's 3.22 billion people that left the United States dollar, which was the world reserve currency. 40% of the population, because we're approaching 8 billion now. We're at 7.8 billion. So we're almost at 8 billion. 40% left with the BRICS nations. Then Saudi Arabia joined the BRICS union and said, we're no longer using the United States dollar. That's it. We're leaving our agreement with the United States. And so now you had a union called Sal BRICS. That's important, because once the nation with which we had an agreement left the USD, that meant we were no longer the world reserve currency. So now you have Sal BRICS, and then you had Indonesia, Malaysia, Egypt, Turkey, Iran, Iraq, Argentina, Mexico, all these nations until it became all the exporting nations joined BRICS, leaving USD and fleeing or going to gold or precious metals. So that is extremely significant, because what happens when all nations leave the United States dollar is that all those dollars come flooding back into our country. And that means that significantly decreases the USD. And as such, inflation goes through the roof. So you had that on top of quantitative easing, when they were just printing money and printing money and printing money. So that means the United States dollar lost its value. But again, everything is relative. Okay, it depends on how you see the world. If you come from a scarcity mentality, meaning there's not enough, we're not going to make it, all is bad, which is the programming that they put into society, then it looks all bad. And that's okay that it looks all bad, because that means you're supposed to be prepared and be proactive and do what you need to do in order to respond righteously or respond wisely. But the other side of that is, at the end of every dynasty, at the end of every empire, see, when you know history, you know this. What happens is that they spend up all the money, they use all the credit, they crash the system, and then they return to a sound system, which is silver and gold. So that's what we see happening, playing out before our eyes. But a lot of people just didn't know that, because they didn't know or understand or overstand history. So everybody's leaving a dollar, which looks bad, but at some point we all will return to the gold standard, because according to Project Sandman, you all should look that up, it will say 100 plus countries agreed to leave the USD and return to gold, but it's actually 209 countries that agreed behind the scenes to leave the USD and to return to gold and silver.
I hear you, but there's a lot of talk and a lot of consternation regarding the fact that it looks like they're trying to move us towards a digital platform, a surveillance, we can wipe your account clean. I mean, we're kind of there anyway. If you got funds in the bank, you're doing, I do all this electronic stuff, so it is digital in a sense.
Yes.
And now it seems like these other applications like CASHAPP, PayPal, and all that are now tied into, because they're reporting what you got coming in and coming out, where they didn't used to it until you got to a certain level and so forth. So what do you think, what do you see as a move towards a digital, a digital system and social credit? Because that's the digital system and the social credit system that it seems like it's enforced in China.
Yes.
We keep hearing, that is looming, it's coming after us.
Yes.
What do you say to that?
Okay. I would say that was the Great Reset. So the Great Reset was a part of the New World Order agenda to move everybody to a digital coin. Everybody all across the world would use one type of monetary system. And indeed, they were actually moving towards that. As you mentioned, China was headed in that direction with social credit. So yes, that was their intention. However, everything has been neutralized. So instead of the Great Reset, what we're going to see is the global currency reset. The Great Reset is nefarious, bad, new world order. We're watching you. We're surveilling you. You better not make a purchase that we're against, or we'll do something to you. And then you have the global currency reset, which is positive and benevolent. So the global currency reset is, once they dismantle the old system, and it's actually happening behind the scenes, all the countries will go to a different standard, which will be the gold standard. And that will revalue all currencies, and all currencies will be assessed or revalued based on the resources that each country has. So we have the global currency reset that's actually happening right now, where gold will be the standard. And we do have a quantum financial system. So the quantum financial system is a benevolent system. It is a system that makes sure that everybody on the planet has their own quantum account, and it is monitored, but it's monitored by our galactic family. So I don't know how people feel, about galactic beings, but we do have people or entities that are benevolent, that are here from other realms and other realities, and they are behind the scenes working with the white hats of the military, dismantling the nefarious powers, the deep state, United States Incorporated, and instituting or putting in place a benevolent financial system that we call the global currency reset. So what you will see is a revaluation of currency. So you will also see people call it the RB or the GCR. And I don't know if you all know about the RB in terms of having exotic currencies, but all currencies around the world will be revalued, and they will all, since they will be on a gold standard, then they will be able to be revalued 1-to-1. So the money that I have here will be the same in Zimbabwe, for example. The money in Zimbabwe will be equated to the exact same amount as, or translating to the exact same in Mexico. So everything will be 1-to-1.
So but okay, so people who still have the devalued fiat currency,
yes,
what will happen? I mean, will there be an opportunity, as far as you know, to exchange it, or is it just like sawdust? I mean, is it
right?
Does it mean now you see it and now you don't? Or
that's a good question. So originally, that's what was going to happen. That's what they planned. The nefarious powers planned for it to completely go to zero and be worth nothing. So we do see it being devalued, but behind the scenes, it's being revalued. So what will happen is you'll be able to change your USD, your United States dollar, or the fiat dollar that you have right now, for a gold-backed note, which will either be called the United States note, the USN, or the United States Treasury note, USTN. And the reason they might put the T in there is because, according to our Constitution, the only entity that can deal with money will have to be the United States Treasury Department. And that's why we will see a dismantling, by the way, of the Federal Reserve.
So the United States Treasury now, would you say that it is right now, has it been taken over by, the white hats, or so to speak, or what? I mean, because as far as I see, anything that is a part of the corporation is suspect. I mean, it's not, it's not in favor of the people. And I do see it dwindling, meaning the dollar dwindling when you go to the store. I mean, the fact that, something that you purchased 6 months ago or last year maybe cost you $5, and now that same thing might cost $15.
That's the truth.
So that's like, what? A little bag, $25 or $30, and you got one little bag. When we were coming up, I was telling my husband today, you need $25 back in the day, you'd have 3 or 4 plastic bags. We don't have plastic bags anymore. But I'm saying, you see the devaluation in the fact that you can't get hardly anything that you used to be able to get before. But I think myself, like I said, I hear, get your money, even Grand Sheik says it, get all your fiat out of the bank. And, I was, saving stuff and turning it into $1 bill. Somebody pointed out that the $1 note, or dollar bill rather, or is the only one that it says something different on it than all of the other, denominations, the 5s, the 10s, and the 20s. It's the one that has the US. I don't even have a wallet around me to pull it out, but it says something different. But my thing is, I take it all out. I got it. Again, that was my earlier question. Am I going, unless I turn it into gold and silver right now, what happens to it? Or if I turn it all into gold and silver and nothing happens like we are feeling might happen, and I can't go to the store and buy a loaf of bread with a gold coin. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, I could, but I'm not gonna get any change. So, so what? I mean, and I'm sure folks, because a lot of folks have been, stacking silver. You stack silver, I stack silver. A lot of the viewers and people who watch this are stacking silver and may not have much. May have just started. I started 2 years ago. You know what I mean? So there have been people who have been doing this for years and years and years. You know what I mean? But I'm just wondering, you know, how does someone who has a significant amount of funds, what is, you know, as a financial advisor and so forth, how does one go about, especially melanated, you know, Moors, whatever, us, what should we be doing?
So my grandmother used to tell me to hope for the best and prepare for the worst. So that way, you know, you're balanced. So what I would say is, and of course, I'm not a financial advisor, is leave enough in the banks to pay for your bills, because the nefarious people, although they are being taken down, you never know what they're going to do until it's all dismantled. So I would leave enough money in the banks to pay my bills. And then, since we do see the devaluation of the dollar happening, personally, what I did was rolled it over into something that's sound, or that I can, you know, that's more protectable, whether that's real estate or precious metals. Then that's what a lot of people have decided to do until we get that announcement. Because what's going to happen is we're going to get an announcement that the republic has been restored. And then once that announcement comes, then you will know that these nefarious beings have been completely taken down, and the deep state and has been dismantled. And then we will go ahead and be on the gold standard and be able to exchange our dollars 1-to-1. So just prepare the best way you can. Have food, have water, have precious metals as you can, and even have dollars, because you know we are still currently on the dollar system until it's announced. So what will happen again is you were going to have an emergency broadcast system announcement. It's going to come on your phones, and it's going to come on your computers and your television. So the emergency broadcast system announcement is actually a presidential method of communication, so that the president can communicate to everybody and get around the mainstream media in cases of emergency. When that happens, everybody's going to know that there was a corporation that was made up of bloodline families that usurped or took over our republic, which is the Republic of the Moors, our lawful government, and created their own government, which is the United States Corporation, incorporated in Delaware. And then they created a banking system, this bloodline family, that is against, or the antithesis of, our system of trade bartering or using gold and silver. They also moved away from our Constitution, which was ours, that we helped create, the Constitution for the United States of America, or the Constitution of Morocco, our Constitution. They usurped that and created their own Constitution called the Constitution of the United States of America, Incorporated. So for is benevolent or good, that's ours, the Constitution for the United States of America, and of is theirs, the Constitution of the United States of America Corporation. We, family, will get an EBS announcement, emergency broadcast system announcement, to let us know about all that has gone on. We will see arrests actually occur on television of these nefarious people who have enslaved us. Some of them aren't even human. Some of them are human, not human. They're other entities, and some of them are human hybrids or other entities mixed with humans. So if you remember, the Bible talks about the Nephilim. The Nephilim, or the sons of God that came to earth and made it with the daughters of men, were those beings from other realities or other existences that came to planet Earth and made it with the women. They created giants, or these other bloodlines that I call human hybrids. So these entities put their family members in control of us. So when that announcement comes, they're going to tell us all about that. That's when we'll know that the gold standard is completely official, and we'll be moving or trading with silver and gold. But in the meantime, while you see the dollar deflating or going down or decreasing in value, prepare. But here's the thing. We've been talking about this for years. I'm sure you all, and Grand Sheik probably has been. I've been talking about, people have been talking about it for years. So we should have been prepared. We should be prepared by now. We shouldn't have to get prepared, so that when we say we're moving to the gold standard behind the scenes, it shouldn't be something that, that makes us feel like this is an untruth, because you can see that all these countries are moving to the gold standard. You can see that the dollar is deflating. If you know history and you listen to people who are speaking the truth, you know that when you move to a monetary system that's not backed by anything, once it's destroyed, you have to go back to silver and gold. So I would say stay encouraged. If you put your money in the banks, just leave enough in there to pay bills. I've heard that everything's going to be okay, but you don't know how much destruction the deep state's going to do before the good people come online and let us know that the war is over. Just like we have been telling people there was going to be a black swan event before it even happened, before the shutdown happened. I was telling people, some other people was like, there's going to be a black swan event. There's going to be troops on the ground. They're going to have curfew. They're going to make us come in. A lot of people didn't listen. They thought it was ridiculous. But the preppers been saying forever, prep, because the system has to crash. The Moors, who knew that the people in power, that their time was up at a certain time, they've been saying prepare. So on one hand, it looked like, oh man, these people were lying. They're false prophets. But on the other hand, for those who had an ear to hear and listened, we were not caught off guard. We were already prepared. But that did not negate that once they shut down the world, it did not negate that behind the scenes, there were people in power arresting those nefarious beings.
We have been hearing, like I said, Grand Sheik and I used to, especially Grand Sheik, when he would come here, he'd always be watching those various ones, that some would be in the UK and some would be here. And, they would be giving, they were patriots, if you will, and so forth. But we still embraced the information, just because they didn't look like us. To me, I saw, I think, I'm trying to think of his prime minister, and there's another brother, were the only two of us that I used to see on a regular. And I think they took them off too, because they were given, this type of information out. But we saw them, and we had to, put aside the fact that what they were talking about. They were still talking about our stuff, even though they were saying that the deep state was taking their stuff. So it's like the fight that's going on. There's an honesty to the fact that there is a deep state, but the I guess the confusion, or the fact, not the confusion, because they're not confused. The fact of the matter is what they're fighting for doesn't really belong to them. And I think that we would be, as we have been historically, benevolent to other human beings. Yes. When we are in our rightful place, and in our rightful place of ownership, control, if you will, rulership, not being this trading places thing that we've been dealing with for several hundred years. That's the thing. And people are probably maybe having difficulty seeing past MSM. You're an independent journalist, but MSM right now, it's like what today's it's 1 week before the midterms, and they are killing us. They are absolutely killing us with their side, where they what they are trying to. And I would just advise us to stay away, period, from that not to participate in next Tuesday, because it's bad enough that they're literally like I said, we're dropping like flies. But here we go. The ones who create the chaos, they come in like the cavalry to rescue us from themselves.
Absolutely. And I would challenge us to look beyond skin complexion and see that the whole globe or the whole world was enslaved by these nefarious beings that came to Earth. And so since the whole world was enslaved, the whole world is going to be liberated. Because one of the universal laws, the first universal law, is that the universal law of oneness. And that is that everything is interconnected. Everything on the planet every human being on the planet, every living thing, people, plants, animals, all sentient things, the water, the air that we breathe, the fish, the insects, we all came from source, and we all have source living within us. And if we decide to transition or die, as they say, we will all return to source. So we're all one. We're all in this together. So although I know here in America, we have indigenous people, and other places too, indigenous people, we have the Moors, we have Aboriginal people. I want to challenge, my desire is to challenge humanity to look beyond skin complexion, look beyond bloodline, and see that we are all God. We are all gods. We all came from God, and we will all return to God. As such, everything you do, everything you think will vibrate on a certain frequency, and it affects everybody. So it's important that we all keep our vibrations high, remember that we're all one, and unite together and fight together so that we can get rid of these nefarious beings and have joy, love, peace, prosperity, and abundance on this planet, which is what the Creator desires for all of us.
Yes. And I agree with you. I agree with you 110%. The lack of unity is a deterrent for us. Because there are more of us, believe it or not, than they are, the fact when we become unified, even though I know minority is a misnomer of what they mislabeling of us. When you think in terms of these little islands that we create, because I'm against you and you're against him and he's against her and we're against them. We create these little minor islands, if you will, unto ourselves. And then we are really minorities because they know how to pull themselves together and become, if you will, I'm just going to say a continent. We want to be little islands and say that and wonder why we can't make it. Because we need to come together, if you will, and I don't mean a real continent, but as a continent. We need not just a country, but a continent with countries all working and coming together. And that's the thing that's going to defeat what the oppression and the tyranny that we have been dealing with all of these years. And folks don't seem to get it. They don't, they don't want to acquiesce their little bit of power to be working together and let the natural leadership happen. You don't have to fight to be the king of the hill. Just do what it is you're here to do, and it will naturally, your leadership abilities. And I know you teach leadership. So leadership, I don't know, but I want to say that leaders are both born, but creation helps because of the experience that one allows themselves to go through, begins to build character. And a lot of us have a lack of character. And so we can't come together because we don't know who we are.
Right.
See what I mean? And when we unify, if you agree,
absolutely,
have oneness of mind, it's sort of the mastermind. See, they have mastermind groups, right? Talk about that. They do mastermind groups. And what is a mastermind? From what I understand, you tell me, but I'm going to tell you. From what I understand or overstand, a mastermind group, a group comes together and they do it, on a higher, these might be millionaires coming together. But when they do come together, even though they have their own sort of kingdoms, if you will, fiefdoms, they come together and, you have a situation or an outcome that you want. So instead of me working on mine and him on hers, we all going to focus on your thing. And with that, and when I say your thing, I'm saying ain't one thing. So we're focusing our attention, our energy, our manifestation. We are all making that. And when that one happens, then we move to the next thing. Right? So nobody's saying, well, look, I think my project is, no, they come together and they make 1,000-year plans. And they make sure that their children's children know, what's supposed to happen, when it's supposed to happen. And even if they're not gone, their seed is perpetuating what is not us.
Yes. Yeah, the Bible says that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children.
That's
So,
right.
like you're saying, there are people that are planning 100,000, 500,000 year plans for eons to take care of their posterity, whereas you have some of us thinking about what's going to happen on the weekend. Or maybe we have a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan, and that's good. However, if you desire to make sure that your bloodline or your family, your posterity, your children's children, humanity, everybody on the planet, if you want to desire to ensure that happens, then you have to have a plan and you have to have mastermind groups. So what happened in our reality is that these nefarious beings created programs that divided us. They created programs that divided people by race, ethnicity, social constructs, gender, which we know there's a law of gender. There are two genders, but I mean, they put in programs or paradigms to cause us to fight against each other instead of having families to come together, people to come together, communities to come together, world leaders to come together and figure out how to live in harmony. So this is very important for us to do, is to get rid of those paradigms of division and remember that we're all a part of the whole. We're all a part of the one. We all came from the source. And every single thought that you have and every single thought that I have vibrates on a frequency. One of the laws of the universe is the law of vibration. Everything has energy and it vibrates. It has a frequency. It has a rhythm or a pattern. So my thoughts affect the next person and everybody around me, whether they're Black, white, or otherwise. And that's why I don't like race, the concept of race, because it makes us think in segments. When you walk into the room, if your vibration is high and you're happy and joyous, you have a positive outlook on life, you have an abundance mindset, you know within your soul that no matter how things look, that the Creator has your best interest in heart, you will raise the frequency and the vibration and the mood of everybody around you. It doesn't even matter what their skin complexion looks like. On the contrary, if you enter a room or you go outside and you have a negative mindset or a scarcity mindset, and you're vibrating on that frequency, then your mood and your energy impacts the person next to you. It impacts the environment. It impacts the animals. It impacts the flowers. It impacts the water even and the air that we breathe. So it's so important for us to dismantle or get rid of or say, I do not consent to any of those paradigms that cause division. Because here's the thing that my son taught me, who's an economist. Race isn't even about ethnicity and it's not about skin complexion. When you study the so-called top 1%, like economy and things like that they try to keep away from most of the people, they teach you that the concept of race is a race to resources, trying to run to gather the resources. It wasn't even about the social construct of color. So let's get our mind away from thinking about color and sex and gender and all that, and just think about us all being from the creative source. And remember that everybody has a frequency and a vibration. As such, there's a law called the law of action. It's a universal law. It's not even just your energy that matters, it's what you put into action. To your point, your plan coming together, beginning with the end in mind, seeing the goal, and then writing out steps and actually achieving each step until you achieve the ultimate goal. Not just for tomorrow, not just for the weekend, but hundreds and 1,000-year plans. Because some of you listening right now, that's under the sound of our voices, you are the ones that the Creator has chosen to create humanitarian projects. Some of you have silver and gold, not just to hoard it. Some of you have exotic currencies like your Iraqi dinar, your Vietnamese dong, your Zimbabwean zim, your Venezuelan bolivar, because you know at some point they're going to revalue. And some of you will use that as a good steward to create humanitarians for people all across the globe. Some of you have been tapped on the shoulders to be the ones to clean up the waters, to be the ones to go to another country and create gardens and farms. Some of you will do it right in your backyard or in other neighborhoods or in other countries. So the reason why I'm saying this is it's so important for us to understand and understand that we are one, that we must come together and work and create plans, like Dr. G said, not just for today or tomorrow, but having mastermind groups and having 1,000-year plans, because the Creator is calling upon you to do that, and you must be a good steward. So turn off the mainstream media, turn off everything that's not conducive to your joy, turn off or do not consent to anything that will keep you from living your purpose on this earth, or keep you from doing what the Creator has called you to do for humanity, and only consent to those things that will raise your vibrations, that will help you in your efforts to help the globe and humanity all across this beautiful planet.
I heard you say, and that's awesome. Thank you so much for,
Yes,
just enforcing what I was trying to say.
No, you did a wonderful job.
But listen, Dr. Kia, I was going to say, and I heard you mention these other exotic currencies, and you mentioned the Zim, the Bolivar. Some folks had the first thing I ever heard way back in the day, I had dinar. Yes. And I got so frustrated holding on to dinar that I sold it back to the place I got it from for half of what I paid for it, which I probably should not have done. But and probably most of the, when I was looking into the backstory of the dinar, when those soldiers were coming out of, what was it, Iraq or so forth, and where the dinar was created, the U.S. created the dinar. They were, I think, 600 USDs, and they got like a million dinar or something like that value of dinar. And so many of them invested, and it's been, I want to say, at least 10 plus years that they, a lot of those folks are probably no longer here, and they, they invested. Like I said, I gave mine back, but I do, I did later on, and thank you to Brother John Hayes, who has also, his free national name. It always gets, Shakur, Brother Shakur. He started sending me, this brother started sending me Zimbabwe currency, because he says, because Dr. G, I want you to be able to use this and help the Moorish nation, help the Moors. And he would, this brother was sending. He was giving it. He invested to the tune, and I'm not, to the tune of, he invested everything he had in this currency, and was giving it out. And he, he said so much to me. I'm like, and he would call me over the last few years and say, it's about to happen. It's about to happen. He recently then got me into the Bolivar?
Yes.
Venezuelan Bolivar. So got Zims, got Bolivar, don't have dinar. Are those currencies also, I think I heard you say, they will revalue to the point where they all will have the universal value? For instance, we don't normally have funds over here in 50 million.
Right.
Like I got 100 million Bolivar.
Yes.
Just one item. So how would something like that, like the Zims and the Bolivar, how would that be? Because they're talking about, you'll get a phone call, and you'll have to go to a secret place to cash out. If I think the Zims were tied to humanitarian projects, you got a higher rate of exchange if you had a plan for, say, humanitarian projects, things that were going to I'm going to take care of me and my family. That would not be considered humanitarian.
Right.
I don't hear that about the blue zone. Can you give us some background on
Yes.
those who may have invested, like myself, in currencies like that? Of those exotic currencies, and where does that?
So what happened is, just to give a background, is when the United States Corporation, also known as the United States of America, would go into countries to cause war, they would fund both sides of the war, but they would decimate the economy of that country. And when they decimated the economy, of that country, that would cause the dollars to lose value. So when that happened, people that worked in the military and governmental agents and politicians would buy up the currency while it was significantly devalued, and hold it and hoard it. And then the United States of America Corporation would go back into that nation, rebuild it up, and the currency of that nation would revalue and go up higher in value once the economy was built up and the country was built up. So those people who bought the currency at a very, very low value when it was devalued would then go to the bank and exchange it and get a whole lot of money. So the example that we have of that happening was in Kuwait, and you all can look this up. Look up Kuwaiti dinar revalues 1991. What happened is we had a war in Kuwait. My brother was served in that war, but we didn't know about the currencies at that time. When that war happened, they devalued the currency. They destroyed their economy. A lot of higher up military men, a lot of politicians bought up the Kuwaiti dinar, held on to it. Once they built up the country back up, their currency also exploded and went up in value. Those politicians became millionaires and billions, some of them billionaires. So that's how a lot of the politicians and high up military made money. But we, the people, didn't know about that unless you had military connections. So I just recently met a friend who said he and his brother actually became, I've known him for like 5 years, but he and his brother were millionaires. His brother is a multimillionaire because the Kuwaiti dinar revalued. He was only a millionaire, not a multimillionaire, because he got, discouraged and sold some of it back before it revalued. So what's happening now is that our creator and the Galactic Federation of Light, or those beings that are here, the benevolent beings that are here helping to liberate humanity, has let us, we the people, know about this scheme of how they revalue currencies. So you have countries like Iraq, who was war torn, Vietnam, Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe was once called Zimbabwe the Great because it was one of the greatest nations on the planet. But when the United States put sanctions on them or destroyed these countries with war, then their currency came down in value. They had to keep printing money in order for people to buy more goods because their dollars weren't worth anything. So now you have higher denominations like the Zimbabwean dim. The highest denominations is 100 trillion, but it's worth nothing. I mean, at least to right now, it's worth nothing. So when we return to the gold standard, which Zimbabwe had made an announcement actually in 2016, 2017, that they returned to the gold standard. I've been following this for a long time. But when it's an official announcement that these countries have returned to the gold standard, then their devalued currency will again be revalued based on the gold and the resources of those nations. So if you hold those currencies and have bought them inexpensively while they're devalued, when we return to the gold standard, and it will all happen at once. Countries are making announcements one by one, soft disclosure, behind the scenes. You have to look and be able to see what's going on. But once it's official, then you'll be able to actually go to a lawful constitutional bank, because the banking system is being right now revamped. You'll be able to go to a bank and actually turn in your currency, your currency that you have now, and get an exchange or a revalued amount, which would be much higher than it once was. So in Kuwait, I think it revalued from being worthless to like $3.51 above the USD, something like that. So look up Kuwaiti dinar revalue. You'll be able to see how when it revalued, it happened quietly. Nobody even knew it except for the people that held it. So for us, again, people are saying you're going to go to an exchange center. My intel are people who are part of farmers' claims, which led to Nasara, which led to the people or the military taking down the deep state. You probably know about Nasara, but those farmers and military people have told me that you won't necessarily go to an exchange center. You'll actually be able to go to a bank. And let me tell you this, family, if it sounds incredible, then consider this. Look up President Trump speaks about Soleimani. President Trump speaks on Soleimani. Look that up on YouTube. Or Trump has a Fox interview about Soleimani. It's a very important interview because what he said, it's a good interview. The whole interview is about an hour long. You should listen to it. But towards the end, he said something very important for those of you who know about exotic currencies. The Fox interviewer asked him, she said, what are you going to do about Iraq? You've been supporting Iraq and, you've built up the roads there. And, you've protected Iraq. What are you going to do about Iraq? And President Trump said, we're going to make everybody that we've taken care of and that we've protected pay us back. As a matter of fact, we just made South Korea pay us $500 billion. It's either 500 million or $500 billion. He said, but in terms of what I think about Iraq, he said, we built up their railroads that they're better than every railroad I've seen here in America. He said, I wish we had those type of railroads that we rebuilt over in Iraq, in New York. He said, but I'll tell you what, we have billions of their money sitting in our banks right now. Why is that important? That is important because for the then president of the United States of America, and some of us believe he's still the commander in chief, but okay. For the then president to say our country has billions of Iraq's money sitting in our banks now is a signal and a key. Is something to let us know that if that money was not going to revalue, we probably wouldn't be having it in our banks. So I'm saying that to encourage you that if you do have exotic currencies, it will revalue when all countries officially move to the gold standard. So we know that, look up Project Sandman, that over 209 countries agreed behind the scenes to return to the gold standard. And we can see countries actually making official announcements that we're going to the gold standard, that we've left the United States dollar, which was the world reserve currency. So we can see that this is going to happen, and it's going to happen very soon.
Wow. So, I mean, like you said, there are things going on behind the scenes that we are not aware, but the things that we do seem to see, the things that are being pushed are the narratives that elicit fear and anxiety and so forth. And we know that those are programming and tactics that we've been dealing with, and I said something to somebody the other day, and maybe it was Brother Joel who's in the comments section, Relation Joel. I think I asked him and shout out to him for fixing and putting in a new thermostat in House of Real Awakening Minds over the weekend, and Sister Francesca coming all the way from Khalifa, and Sister Bethel and Brother Warren. They came and got some work done this weekend. But I was saying to him, I said, doesn't it just feel different to you? Mm-hmm. The atmosphere of just, if you walk outside, I feel like I'm somewhere else. Yeah. And I said to him, I think, and he can correct me because he's in the chat, it's almost like we shifted into a different dimension, or do you feel the air of the change?
Yes.
I mean, it's not just like every now and then, but every day it doesn't feel like prior to 2020.
Yes, absolutely. Because what was happening, you spoke about the negative energy, the fear, the angst, the anxiety, the terror that we had because of all the programs, the bad movies, the dying, all those things that were happening around us, the low vibrational music, the 808 beat that's in the music causes you to vibrate at a low chakra, causes you to focus on your sacral chakra, just dealing with sex and all your basic needs. So all those things that were happening to bring down our vibrations was done for a purpose, because when that happens, when you're fearful, when you're in a survivalist mode, when you're angry, when you're in pain, when you're sad, or your emotions are in flux, you emit loosh. Loosh is a psychic energy, yes, that comes from your body when you have low vibrational moods. And that loosh or psychic energy is what those nefarious beings who had come to the planet to enslave the planet, they eat that. They absorb that energy. So what happened, and I remember number 45 was talking about during the 4th of July celebration. It might have been 2018, 2019-ish. He said, we've done all we can. It was a big celebration. They had a nice display in the air shows, and it was just beautiful, and fireworks going off. He said, I put a lot of money into the military. People got mad because they didn't understand what he was saying. I put a lot of money in the military, and we've done everything in our power to secure the skies. What he was saying was, we put a lot of money in the military because it was actually the military that was fighting against these hybrids, these human hybrids, and these non-human entities and beings, and exiting them or taking them off the planet. And then we secured the skies. We made the skies safe. So they're out of this reality. They're out of this realm. And now they're locked up, like the Bible talks about. It talks about Satan being in chains for 1,000 years, and then you will have 1,000 years of peace. So when most of those, or all of those entities were sent off of this planet and the skies were secured, then you felt humanity actually raising in consciousness and the vibrations of the planet increasing, which is what caused us to feel better. Additionally, you had them neutralizing the chemtrails. So sometimes you still see something in the sky, but a lot of that is actually something to heal and to negate and to fight off all of those chemicals that were harming us, to now cause, they put some type of medicine in there to fight against that word that we were fighting, that sickness, and also to help to raise the vibrations. So you had the exit of those beings, you had them cleaning up the air, you have there are some lakes, like in California, water that's sprung up out of nowhere that's clean. You have people like you and me sharing the good news, and all of our soul family here, choosing to have an abundance mindset. That's what proactive people do. Proactive people realize they have a choice. They don't have to react and act based on emotions, based on feelings, based on the way things see with their eyes. Proactive people, those of us, we say we're going to act or respond. We choose to respond, and we choose to do so in a positive manner. And so when we do that, we're raising the vibrational frequencies of the planet. So you have all those things working together that's causing a whole different reality. And even that is a choice. Some people are still operating in the third dimension. Some people are still angry. Some people are still, it's not a whole lot of them, because we're lifting them up with our energy. Remember, every thought ripples across the whole planet, and we're changing it. But some people are in 3 or 4D, whereas there are some of us that are moving beyond 4 and 5D. But everything is a choice. It's all up to each individual which reality they will choose to live in.
Yes, I'm looking to see there was questions. Here's I'm gonna, if you don't mind.
Okay, sure. Yes.
Can you please ask Dr. Kia where to buy these currencies and what notes to start with?
Yes, I would say, excuse me, You can go to Great American Coin Company. That they have Indonesian rupiah. They have the Zimbabwean Zim. They should have the Vietnamese Dong. So you can go to Great American Coin Company. You can go to 100trillions.com. That's the 100 trillions, TRILLIONS.com. Let's see who else. Nick, there's somebody called by the name of Nicholas Vinyanaman on YouTube. If you go to his YouTube channel, he has a website too that you can buy currencies, from which you can buy currencies. You can also go to, let's see, where else? eBay. Just be careful. So, because sometimes some things on eBay may not be authentic. So if you choose to shop from eBay because it's less expensive, make sure the note that you get comes with a certificate of authenticity.
I do that, Dr. Kia, Banknote World on eBay. Now this and it's here's the certificate that you're right. It comes with certificate of authenticity every time I get, and these are Boulevard. Now it was interesting with this Boulevard because brother, I'm sorry, he told me about this, and it was like 80 USDs at the time for 100. What was it? 100. I think it was. It says it right here. What did I get? Oh, here it is. So I got 1 million Boulevard, right? For 80 notes. The 2 weeks after I got it for 80 notes, the same thing cost $1,500.
Wow.
I paid 80 for 100 million. This is 100 million.
Okay.
And two weeks later, it was up to over 1,400.
It must be a high demand.
Yeah. So but the company in there, they do give you, it's called Banknote World. If you go on eBay and it's for Boulevard, go to Banknote World. I have several different, and they send their stuff in a hard package, supports, and they send you authenticity certificates with it. So they are legitimate on eBay, if anybody is interested. But there's hopefully y'all took note of those, the ones that somebody's asking if you have an Instagram. If you look at the bottom of the description for tonight's program of this interview, I have all of Dr. Kia's links. So if you're on YouTube, go down and click on the description, program description, and then when you look down, I think it's like 4 or 5 different links for you, your Instagram, your YouTube channel, and all of that. It's there. Also, if you're on Facebook, there's in the description, I put the links there. Yeah, right. So just so you'll know. This is amazing. This is absolutely awesome. I told y'all this was going to be an awesome discussion, and I just love watching you. And I'm going to shift. I'm going to switch up a bit. Okay. To you. I said to you all. I said she's very versatile. She's a journalist and independent journalist and economist, and she's up on with what she needs to be up on, but she also gets intel on other things. And so there was a broadcast that I saw, Dr. Kia.
Yes, ma'am.
And maybe a few weeks ago or a month ago, I don't know when it was, but I saw it maybe in the last couple of weeks, and then we had a discussion. Do you mind? And so I pulled it up. Do you mind if it was called Breaking Dead Actors? Let me see that one. I want to, if you don't mind, I would like to bring up, and I have it queued up, because about halfway through, because you say some interesting stuff. So
sure.
See, y'all, I'm going to share something. Let me see how I do this. Window, Chrome tab, select. An amazing story, because for all that we know, that the public knows, Bobby Christina
Mm-hmm.
was the only child, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
of Whitney Houston. And I was, after I heard you, I actually found an interview. She wasn't shown on that particular interview, but her voice, and she was being interviewed by an activist. I don't remember the woman's name, who was getting the story from her about, how she had, come to see her. She had met Bobby Christina, and her mother came to see her, and how, I think shortly after was when she, was taken out, so to speak. Yes. So tell us, about, that experience of knowing, and working, being a friend to this both of these young women.
Okay. I was looking down because I was texting Rena. She said, "I'm on, sweetheart. I'm here with you." So she's watching the show. She's here watching, as well as Elvis's daughter, Kendra. Kendra is her. I got permission to mention her name, that she's watching with us. I get really emotional when I talk about this, so please excuse me. I love Rena so much, and Kendra. And I'm glad they're with me, because she gave me permission to speak on this. So I'm a little, sometimes I get uncomfortable talking about it, but I do have her permission. She gave me her blessing again today. She knew it would come up. You knew, Rena. I had no idea. But Whitney Houston has an eldest daughter, and her name is Rena Houston. Rena was taken away from Whitney because Whitney had a baby when she was a teenager. And in Hollywood, the way they control you is they will take your children away from you, and they will hold that child over your head in order to force you to do certain things. If you look at, there's a song, I mentioned it in there. Rena, can you text me or put in the chat what the name of that song is? I Get So Emotional. Thank you, Whitney. There's a song, if you look up on YouTube and you see the video of Whitney singing I Get So Emotional. Towards the end of that concert, she goes to the crowd and they hold up a baby, and Whitney bows down and kisses the baby. That is Rena. So Rena was taken away from Whitney and sold into child sex trafficking through various channels such as CPS, which I hope I can say that, but some of those 3-letter organizations. Thank you, Rena. She texted, so emotional. Yeah, I was thinking that too. Some of these 3-letter entities are actually nefarious, and they sell children into sex trafficking. So they took Rena, sold her into sex trafficking, and she went to several foster homes. But there was one lady in particular who was over that, and she was the handler. So Rena grew up knowing that something wasn't right. You can feel it when people are mistreating you. You can feel it because these people, the handler was supposed to be the real mother. So she's wondering, why do I have a real mother, but I keep being changed to different foster homes? So the real mother, or the fake mother, was actually a handler. So that happened to Rena, and the same thing happened to Kendra, my friend, my good friend, my sister. I call her my sister. Kendra, she was sold into sex trafficking. That's Elvis's daughter. So they grew up not knowing who their family members were. And this is what happens in Hollywood, because Hollywood is a part of the machine. They're part of the nefarious entities that install mind control programs, and they have certain people to play roles. So they have entertainers, they have singers and actors and all that. That some of them are born into this, and they have to operate behind, against their will. And if they don't do what they say, they will sell your children and torture your children while your child is away from you, and then let you know that we're doing this to your child. We're raping your child. We're abusing your child. We're molesting your child. So you better conform to what we say. Well, as somehow